One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Anita, did you know that when we were just speaking now, you said, "Okay, come on, Eileen." And then the song popped in my head.
Did I say that?
Yes.
It was subconscious. Usually I would do that on purpose.
Well, I know. Ever since then, now I have it in my head. So we got to ask our guest if everybody sings that song to her.
Everybody sings that song to me.
They do. Sorry, we are added to the list.
Oh no, I actually weirdly like that song, even though it's slutty.
Is it? I don't even know
slutty?
lyrics.
Oh,
I
it
only
is.
know the "Come on, Eileen." That's it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
swear, oh, Eileen, at this moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know all the lyrics either.
in that pretty red dress. Oh, my thoughts I confess, verge on dirty.
What?
Come on, Eileen. Yeah.
And then Eileen Telluride, Eileen. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've changed to Spotify now.
Hey, we're
We'll be
also
on
on
your Wrapped.
Spotify. It's fine. And
That's-
YouTube.
That's true.
Did you know we're on Audible?
No.
Eileen, you are now on Audible. Who
Oh
knew?
my God. I'm a celebrity.
You are. Maybe we should introduce your full name. Who are you?
I am Eileen Murray. I'm Eileen Murray, and coming to you from New Jersey, underrepresented, I think,
Oh,
everywhere. No, not your fault. I mean,
you guys just kind of get eaten up by all of the big energy around you.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
Jersey jokes that I don't even think they need to be told because there's a lot of great people from Jersey.
It's really, I love New Jersey.
Are you from New Jersey originally?
Yes.
Okay. Born and bred.
Yeah, I guess in like a 20-mile radius my whole life.
It's like you, Anita.
I know. I was gonna say that sounds familiar.
Where in Jersey do you live?
Morris Plains, and maybe a half hour from the city.
So, Eileen, I know two things about you. One, your name is Eileen. No, I know three things. Two, we had to schedule this podcast twice because the last time we had problems. And three, you have the same helmet as me. So, mountain bike helmet. Do you bike?
I do bike.
Like what kind of bike?
Anita bike. Let's put it out there
No,
right
who
now.
does?
No, that's a.
I don't even really mountain bike.
Are there even mountains in New Jersey?
We have mountains,
Oh, okay.
not like your mountains.
Right.
You guys have, mountains. We have no mountains. But we're not like if I wanted to, which I don't, but like the Appalachian Mountain Range is not far from here.
Ah.
So
Yes.
it has mountains. But my husband and I used to trail bike together.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
but nice rail trails, things like that, which I loved. We loved.
I love a good rail trail too. So
Oh,
very fun.
and my boyfriend and I do the same thing
She is
because
like dropping so many breadcrumbs for us right
I
I
know.
know.
I know. We have a lot we need to learn about you other than bike helmet.
now. Yes.
You're a widow, correct?
That's the fourth thing. Yes.
Unless you have a husband and a boyfriend at the same time, both alive. Okay.
No,
Some people do.
that would be rude, you know.
Tell us a little bit about you before you met your husband. So, what are things you like to do? What job, life, everything? Favorite color?
Yeah. I it's so funny. I shouldn't hesitate, but I was gonna say I would say I'm an artist. I am an artist. Um, haven't done a lot in the past several years. But I grew up in the tiny town in Chatham, very um what's the term? Kind of white bread. Just, sort of the prototypical small town.
Yeah.
Um, Catholic school, Catholic high school. Um, I haven't gone to church in a while because I have nothing against it, but I just, once they stopped making me go, I was like, I'm not going to go anymore.
Who's they?
Mom and dad?
Mom and dad.
Like the angels? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was God.
God was like, you don't have to come anymore. She's like, yes.
It's like you're good, Eileen. You're gonna go through a lot, and so it's okay. Save your energy.
You've paid, yeah, I like that. And I hit a point in my life, not probably in college, where, you go, you party, you have fun, you party some more, you try this substance, that substance. When I graduated, unlike my friends, like the party didn't end. And what happened for me, and was I mean, I was an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. I did everything I could to put on the best face possible. I have a job, I have a boyfriend, I have a car, I have all the things that make it look like I have it together. But I was really dying inside. Um, and you know, maybe it was in my early 20s. Um, that essentially I just hit an emotional bottom. It wasn't like a big, thank God, crash my car or anything like that. It was just, I can't do this anymore.
Oh,
Um, so I got sober in 1989. So it's been 36 years. Um,
good math skills.
yeah, well,
I was like,
that's the one thing that you keep track of.
okay.
It's like, oh, how much time do you have? 36 years,
Yeah.
Uh, and that leads right into how I met my husband. We In AA, you don't go to bars when you're young, and I was fairly young in my 20s. But you have AA dances, and you go, they play music, you drink soda, that's the deal. And
Sounds like all of Utah to me.
Yep.
yeah, I know. I would do great in
You
Utah.
would you come on over.
I did go once. I loved it. Loved it. So I walked into an AA dance. I was single, young, with my girlfriend, wearing our tight jeans and tight shirts and all the things. And there was this guy taking tickets at the door, and it was just like, who's that cute guy?
Did the
Like,
angels sing?
the angels
The
kind of,
angels that excused you from church were like,
yes,
They
same
led you to
angel.
him.
Um, yeah, so and that's where our relationship started. I tend to have commitment issues. So even though the angels sang, once I, you know, had a little time to process, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. What's a sober relationship look like? I have no idea. Um, so 6 years later, we got married. And I may or may not cry. I know
That's
that that's,
totally fine.
yes.
Yes.
What is this man's name?
Oh, his name is Mike.
Mike.
If his name would have been Angelo, it would have been the best.
Wait, Archangel Michael.
Michael the Archangel.
Oh, I like that. He was just wonderful. He could go on and on about how funny, and that was a huge one for me. I needed a sense of humor in a guy, and kind and compassionate and loving. And, he would look at me like I made the world, and that really never stopped, to the day he died. We were always in love, always in love. And so we were married. We were together a total of 30 years.
Hmm.
And married 24. See, this is where my math falls off. Um, and part of me was like, sorry.
It's
Eek.
okay.
Oh, I got you on the quacks. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm bad. I'm gonna
It's
try
okay.
and, reel it in.
You know what? We haven't had any good quacks in a while. So you do your thing.
Quack away.
You got this, Eileen.
Let it rip.
Yep.
We met each other's families like almost right away. His family was nuts. I don't know how.
Like in a bad way or in the good
In
way?
a bad way.
Okay.
No, they were just crazy. They were they're just not normal. I mean, the first day we were going into his house, his mom's house, like it was Christmas. We met in December. And he goes, we're just about to walk in. He goes, I gotta tell you, these people are nuts. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? Somehow this stellar human being came out of this craziness, which had alcoholism and paranoia and all the things. We had a really good life. There were bumps,
Of course.
as there tend to be. Well, I think I had written to you, we made the decision not to have kids. And, and I know that comes up, in terms of kidless widows and things like that. Um, for us, it just didn't feel like this is something we need to add to our lives. Like, yes.
Was he in recovery as well, or was he just like randomly
No,
at an
he was in
AA
recovery.
dance? Okay.
Or he just was sent from heaven
Yeah, they were
to
like,
the AA dance.
Yeah.
you're gonna man the dance. Also, I
Yeah.
have this great visual of him coming from this crazy household. You know, in the movies when there's like an explosion and then the main character is like strutting away from the explosion and they're like, that's kind of what I think. Like like his family is like an explosion and he's just like, main character energy walking away from the explosion of his upbringing. Is that
I
accurate?
like that. I'm gonna hold on to that because that's what it was like. They were just nuts.
Is part of the decision to not have kids because it ran in both of your families? Or was it more like being in recovery is a lifetime thing and there's a lot of work that goes into it and that was a factor? Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt. You can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
That's a really good question. I mean, we struggled with it because it's so, there's such societal expectations. I think for women, for couples to have children, um, our families didn't really push us. I know the way that some people get pushed who, decide not to. But for us, it wasn't really our backgrounds or, um, anything in recovery. It just really was more like we love us just as we are. And certainly people feel like that and then decide to have kids. But for us, it just didn't seem like it just wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah.
I think for me, I always thought of it as like, that's not a job I would have applied for. It's a hard job. I don't have to tell you, Anita.
It's management.
It's management.
Of absolutely psychopathic people with no reasoning abilities.
I can relate to this, Eileen. This is helpful.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It is interesting to, when a lot of people around you, or it's just an expectation, that's just what's happening. And so, some people struggle with infertility and they did want kids. Some people have made the decision to not have kids. Some people have had the choice taken away from them because maybe their partner died. And so it's interesting for widows without kids. They arrive to the kidless widow situation with different backgrounds. And so there are often differing responses to how they feel about their partner having, been gone. And some are still grieving that they weren't able to have kids, and some are maybe relieved that they don't have that added layer, but some are also maybe a little sad they don't have a reminder. How has that been for you?
I mean, I was 59 when Mike died. So I had been doing the child-free, I'm going to say, life for quite some time. Um, and I didn't have any of the, somebody that would remind me of him or have his features or characteristics. I just didn't, I just wanted him, and sometimes you hear about, and certainly more as I've gotten into the widow world, shall we say, I would on Facebook and things like that, people say, I don't know how I would have done it without my kids. I would never have gotten out of bed. Thank God I have my grandkids and my kids, so I'm not all alone. So there is a little piece of me that goes, "Brr," is that something? Um,
That's like the
It
dog
also-
head, like
yeah,
cocking to the side, like this is a podcast. Yeah.
People will get the picture. But then I also think about, my husband was, Anita, you need to know this, was a PT.
What?
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah. He worked with mainly a geriatric population.
I love old people.
Oh, so did he.
They're the best.
And they loved him. Oh my God. Like the the little ladies, as he called them, that he's a big, tall, handsome guy. And they would just like, oh, Mike. And
Did you feel any competition from them? It sounds a
he
little
didn't. I
okay.
was really cool about it. So I guess I sort of wove away from that. Oh, the thing I was going to say is, and then you hear about people saying, well, who's going to take care of you when you're
Oh,
older?
right.
No. And certainly that thought has come to mind more since Mike died, just because there was the sense that we would take care of each other. But I also know, like from Mike's work with the geriatric population, that there are people whose children are wonderful to them and they're visiting them and then there are the people who have no one, even though they have children. And so so that there's no guarantee. And for me, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I should have had kids just so somebody could take care of me, because
Potentially, in theory.
potentially
Yeah.
take care of me. So um yeah, so Mike went back to school to be a PT when we not a couple years after we got married. And he loved it. He
Yeah.
just loved it. And again, this is something that you may get. He would get cards and notes and letters from people saying, you changed my life,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
And I actually, after he died, I found a big box of them. Like I would see a couple come in every now and then, he would show me. But then I found that big box and I'm like, that was so like him not to be like, look at all the people that love me. Um, but that, he touched a lot of lives.
Yeah.
He touched a lot of people.
So tell us what happened. Why is
Ugh.
Mike not with us?
Mike is not with us going back to bikes.
Uh-oh.
Um,
oh boy.
yeah, it was COVID and we were doing road rides. I don't usually road ride, but it was so empty. I felt more comfortable with it. And we went on a long ride and we came to a point where it's like there's the easy way, then there's the crazy up the hill, you know, your heart beating out of your chest way. And Mike's like, hey, is it okay if we meet back home and I'm going to go up Schoolhouse Lane? I was like, sure. And so I did my little way home and got to the house and was sitting out back. And next thing I know, a police officer comes out back and he says, your husband's been in an accident. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my. And he's like, no, 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 he's just kind of banged up and bruised. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill him. And he was more than banged up and bruised. He was way more banged up and bruised. I went to the ER and I couldn't go in
COVID.
because COVID. And so a friend of mine brought two chairs and we sat in the emergency room parking lot. And I'm just on the phone trying to get information. They're like, no, he's not in yet. He's not here yet. And next time I call, they took him out for scans. And I'm like, I just want to talk to him. Um, and then finally I got a call and it was him. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm okay. And he kept repeating himself. So he had, I don't know what you call it, a small, not a hematoma, but minor brain damage that
Oh,
was expected to get absorbed back into the brain.
oh, okay. Like some bleeding on the brain or
Yes,
something
some
that was,
bleeding on the
yeah,
brain. Um, but it was serious but not life-threatening.
right.
One of his legs had been mangled pretty badly. He had a spinal fracture, um, the brain bleed, and, just covered in cuts and bruises. Um, as an aside, the person that hit him, and this is such a hot button issue for me, was a 90-year-old woman with
Oh,
dementia.
wow.
And I wave that flag as often as possible to not to prevent your elderly, incapacitated parents or loved ones from driving.
Yeah.
And she didn't know she hit him.
Mm.
She hit him, she kept going. She parked in her driveway. They cordoned off the whole area so they could go house to house looking for the car and then finally found her. And she was like, "No, I didn't." And so they had to show her her car.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but we talk about helmets. I mean, if he had lived, or one of the things I said, because he got a hole in his helmet or it got crunched in,
Yeah.
but he bounced on his head twice. And no helmet would have equaled death. So I've always been a huge helmet wearing waiver, but particularly so, even though unfortunately he did end up
Yeah.
dead.
I have one of those helmets in my garage too that's been
Mm,
smushed in. And this is so random, but I'm going to share it anyway because it might be helpful.
mm,
So, I believe it's Southern Virginia University did a helmet study, and they have taken most of the helmets that are popular, most of the brands, and they have put them through a bunch of tests to see which ones are the most effective at protecting your brain. And they have a list of which helmets are. And I always assumed that they were like all the same. They're all just like that foamy stuff and they're going to do the same, but they are not. And they have a rating system. So the last time I bought a helmet, I went to that site first to see which ones were the safest. And side note,
uh,
it's not the one that we share, Eileen. It's a different
oh,
one. I got a new one.
yeah.
So
I was thinking, oh, that would be awesome if I already have one of the
no,
safety
the
helmets.
one we have was not on the list at all. So I don't
Oh,
know if they
boy.
didn't test it or if it just didn't test well. Anyway, I just like I'm a huge helmet fan as well, and so I try to
Yeah.
share that information with people. And also I have a 90-year-old driving story too. Can I tell it to you?
Yes.
So we lived with my grandparents in their basement apartment, and my grandma was starting to develop signs of dementia, and it got worse and it got worse and it got worse. And she stole somebody's car. She
What?
she went to the gas station. She filled up her car. She went inside to pay because this was like in the days that you went inside to pay, probably with a check, paid, came
Yeah.
back out, got in a different person's car, and drove it home. Okay.
Wait, was this at your family gas station too?
No, it was not. It was at a different one. I don't know why she went to a different gas station because my family owns gas stations. Anyway, the
I didn't know, but
We
anyway,
haven't
she
talked about this part.
that's true.
yeah.
My grandpa owns a gas station, but this is after he stopped pumping gas. Anyway, steals the car, drives it home, has no idea that she has stolen somebody's car. The police know who she is, come to her house, and she's like, "What?" But she stole somebody's car and they didn't take her license away. They made her take a test and she passed it. And a few months later, and I had been talking to my grandpa and I was like, "Hey, like I think you need to take her keys away." And he was like, "My grandpa he's an ostrich of a man." He's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine." But one day she came home with a traffic cone stuck in her wheel well. And I was
Oh,
like, "That's so weird." And we pulled it out. She had no idea it was there. And it had this little loop of rope at the top of the traffic cone. And I was like, why would a traffic cone have a loop of rope at the top of it? And I was driving a few days later and I drove past a crosswalk from a school and saw a cone with a loop of rope at the top of it. And I was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, she hit that in a crosswalk and she didn't even know she hit it. And that could have been a child.
Oh,
So I went home and I found that you could report drivers and say that you didn't think that they should be driving anymore. And I filled out the form on my grandma and I got her driver's license taken away. But you have to put your name on it. So I had to put, I, Anita, do solemnly think that this woman should not be driving, and got her license taken away. And she was not happy with me, but she forgot fairly quickly. So it turned out to be fine. But I'm with you on that. Like driving is a hard skill. There are a lot of things going on and you have to be taking in a lot of information and making decisions with that information. And anyway, so I will
Wow.
agree and concur with you. And that's my getting my grandma's driver's license taken away story.
Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow-in-the-dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my Be Nice, My Husband is Dead to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it, but you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right, Anita? What else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app, which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com.
That's a story. I'm like, you're my new hero.
Yay!
That's
Sorry,
scary to do.
Grandma, but
It was horrible, actually. I mean, I felt like the family, like the demon of the family, because
of course you did.
I was like, it's not safe. And like, I know it's going to be hard for her, but
Yeah,
like, you can't kill
tell
somebody.
people, I'm like, use my story.
Yeah.
You know, if your mom, if your dad, you know, your aunt, your uncle, whoever it is, you know, you know, should not be driving. You use my story,
Yeah.
you know, but that's amazing.
Wow. So this lady, the old lady, hit Mike, didn't know she hit Mike. Mike was alive in the hospital at this point. So what happened after that?
He was alive for three weeks in the hospital with a break to go to rehab. I can't remember what they did on his leg, but it's where they put like scaffolding on the outside. It's called something.
It's called something. Perfect.
Yeah. And it was his leg. He was born with a club foot. So he had struggled with that his whole life. Despite that, became like an outstanding athlete and everything. But the ankle was already fused. There was no, but they did what they did. They put the scaffolding on. He went to rehab. I didn't see him, you
That's
know.
so hard.
It was so hard. I would go to the rehab and drop off an espresso for him. That's all he wanted was an espresso and me. Um, then he went back to the hospital. They did the second surgery. He came through it. He did good. He came home, I think 2 days after the surgery. Again, it was COVID. So I went to pick him up. It was like picking up somebody from the airport. People were just lining up and they're wheeling people out. This poor guy, he was wearing a hospital gown
This
with no,
sounds more like prison, like releasing
it
people
was
from
like prison.
prison.
It was open in the back. His butt was hanging out. I've got this wheelchair that weighs 10,000 pounds trying to finally I got somebody to help me. But got him home. I had already set up a hospital bed and all the things that he would need, a tub chair or transfer chair. Um, and he was home the second night. I heard him calling me. He was downstairs and I was in the other room. And I just heard him say, Eileen, Eileen, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And I went in there and I had no idea. I thought, is he anxious? Is he having an anxiety attack? Like, because I know, and he had gotten himself out of bed somehow with this huge cast. And I called 911. They came in, they tried the paddle, I just remember that, there's such trauma associated with, he's just bouncing off the bed. He's just bouncing. Then they got him on the floor and then I guess finally got his, uh, I don't know what they got back, but enough that they felt that they could move him. And they said, we're going to take him to St. Clair's because we don't think he'll make it if we take him to Morristown. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean he's not going to make it? Like, so I followed them to the hospital. They let me in, which is not a good sign during COVID. And I just sat with him in the ER, and I kept trying to call, and I couldn't get in touch with any of my friends. I have good friends, but it was 3 in the morning. And then finally, I got in touch with my brother and his wife, and they came over. Um, but it was pulmonary embolism, and he was brain dead.
Mm.
He was just gone.
It's such a
And
ripoff because you went through all of that like
yes,
pain and surgery and recovery, and you feel like you finally made it. Like he's home. We've been through hell. We're done with that. And now we can go back to our lives. And then poof, gone.
you nailed it. That's exactly it. It was like the worst kind of tease ever. Um, yeah, I just, again, they let me come to the hospital to say goodbye. Although he wasn't there, he was unavailable. Um, and two of my friends came with me, and I held his hand and, told him all the things and, said, I said, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say, I'll see you later. Um, and, then the next morning, they lowered his blood pressure medication. They said his blood pressure was dropping already. And they asked me permission to do that because he wasn't, Otherwise, he would be a vegetable.
Yeah.
He was. So I said yes. I know Mike. I know his wishes. I know he would not want to live in suspended animation. Um, so he died that morning.
Mm.
And even still saying that, part of me is like, what are you saying? He died? Like, do you ever get that? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
I think it's all fake
Yeah.
yeah.
until I remember it. Even I don't know. It's all such a warped bad dream that I think happened, and obviously it happened, but then I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that you just described that because this morning I got a message from a friend and she's in that position right now where her husband had a cardiac event. The doctors are saying it's not looking good. You're going to have to make a decision. And she said a lot of those same things like, is this happening? Like, this
Mhm.
can't be happening. This isn't real. And trying to make that decision of what they would want. And she's like, I kind of don't care what he wants. Like, I want him to be here. I'll do anything to take care of him. But also then in the same sentence being like, I know that's not reasonable. I know I can't do that, but I want him here. And just like the gut wrenching decision that comes along with having to decide if you're going to withdraw, some sort of medical care that's keeping a person alive, even though they're gone. And Mel, you have personal experience with that with your dad too. So,
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. An accident, and then all of a sudden they're on the vent, and same day you have to make a decision. It's like, what? We just played tennis like 8 hours ago. I don't understand.
yeah.
Eileen, had you and Mike discussed end of life stuff? Not necessarily a medical end of life, but if one of you had gone before the other, had you guys ever talked about that with each other?
No, the only thing we ever said to each other, and this is realistic, like we both have to die at the same time.
Yeah.
As
Well, you
far as
failed.
we went, and I his whole family, his whole family died, not all at once, but everybody got cremated.
Well, they did in Anita's
Yeah, in
scenario,
my
right?
scenario, they all got
That's
exploded.
true. And they were cremated,
Yeah.
It's
you
just a
know.
one by one situation.
Um, so we hadn't discussed those things. Mike, it sounds weird. He didn't like death. He didn't like going to funerals or wakes, and not that any of us like it, but he really didn't want to talk about it or anything like that. And I never tried because it's like, you know, he wasn't sick. He was 54, healthy, athletic, all the things. Um, but I made the decisions I wanted him buried. I don't know why. And sometimes I think maybe he would have preferred to be cremated, but I don't know. That's all I could think of.
So we've kind of gotten into your religious background. Did Mike have a religious background? Did he have a belief system of any sort?
We both, I mean, traditionally he's Catholic. But for both of us, I think we found a spirituality and a belief system in AA.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so, actually. And they talk about God as you understand him. And Mike, he would struggle with the idea of God. He wanted to believe and then he didn't. And I understand that too.
Yeah.
Uh, but he definitely, even though he might not have known it, was a very spiritual person, you
So did
know.
he believe in an afterlife or some sort of a something after death? Do you know?
He did, except when the skeptic in his brain said, what's wrong with you, you know? But he did. He did. He definitely wasn't an atheist.
Mm.
I would say, he used to say, um, I have an unshakable faith that comes and goes.
I think a
That's
lot of
good.
us have that too.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think it's so ironic in a horrible way that Mike spent his life taking care of elderly people and then they went and screwed him
yes,
over.
Hmm.
They went and ran him down. Like, didn't they know that he was their biggest advocate and he was helping them with their broken hips and their knee replacements and their strokes and their what have you?
And their diabetic foot ulcer wound care.
That's just me.
Who's that? Yes, I've thought of that too. Like he was mowed down by the very population that he spent his life serving.
Hmm.
I have never met the family, but I hold them responsible.
Yeah.
It, it it's our responsibility, I think, is to take care of our loved ones, elderly ones, and also and to prevent them from,
Yeah. It's part of the society contract. Like
yeah,
we're gonna keep each other safe as much as we
yeah,
can. Yeah.
yeah.
So when did he die? What year was it?
Uh,
COVID
2020, June 21st,
2020.
2020.
So it's been a little over 4 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
this next June will be 5 years, which is unfathomable, and I don't know how I made it. I really don't. I just, sure you guys understand, on the floor, weeping, wailing, banging my head, just any, I, I was like, I can't do this. And I did have a moment, a space of time where I wasn't planning anything, but in speaking with my shrink, he was like, yeah, that's suicidal ideation, where I was coming up with specifics.
Mm.
And I didn't want to die. I just wanted to be with him.
Yeah.
That was that was all I wanted, and and thank God for my friends. Oh my God, I have such good friends. I am such good friends. They parked on my couch in my living room, my backyard, wearing masks or not. I didn't really give a shit, like COVID is the worst thing. No, should not joke about COVID. I know how serious it is. Um, but I take meds. I've taken meds for a long time and they've saved my life.
Hmm.
And so I worked with my shrink and told him what was going on, and he made some adjustments and additions. And I wasn't like great, ready to go, but I wasn't having those thoughts anymore.
You have been sober for a very long time. Did any of what happened to Mike and the death and then starting to go through grieving, did that stir up anything in your body that made you maybe look at alcohol or non-sobriety? Or had you been in sobriety for so long that it wasn't something that you were even looking toward?
No, that's a really good question. And I don't think that I don't think there's ever a length of time that you're in sobriety that you couldn't be in danger of picking up a drink, because I know of people that have, decades. Um, I did not have a thought of alcohol. And I don't know if part of that was it's not going to touch this.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to drink but I wanted to die.
That just tells you how bad
Mhm.
it is. When,
Yeah.
like, alcohol's not even enough, so
Not an option, you know?
yeah. So maybe yay that you for some reason
Yeah.
didn't choose that. But
And got properly prescribed medication. And so I would say 6 or 7 months after Mike died, my stepfather-in-law, eh, actually ex-stepfather, it was his mother's second husband who she divorced. I just call him my father-in-law because he's awesome.
oh,
Because he's not blood related to Mike. Is that why?
Well, because he was actually Mike's ex-father-in-law.
yeah, he got out too. He ran from the burning building as well.
Yes, and he moved in with me. Oh, thank
Wow.
God, because I was losing losing my shit. And he has said to me recently, he's like, "You scared me." He's like, "You really scared me." And I'm like, "I know, Len. I'm sorry I scared myself." Um, and I'm not one to hold back on their grief. It's like people would be, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm shitty, terrified, and I just want to go off a cliff." Okay, I might be exaggerating, but
I don't think you
No.
are. We've all felt like that. Anita said that before too. Same here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, why would I put on a happy face for people? Like, they don't mean anything to me anymore. The only thing that means anything is Mike, and he's gone. Loveland, it was really nice. Because it was always Mike and Len before, it was just kind of like I knew Len, I really loved him, but they were the ones that would converse and hang out together. And I've really gotten to know Lenny. And then he moved out because I didn't know what I might be doing. I don't want to leave my house. I love my house. But if in a couple years I'm like, well, I'm gonna get a condo, that kind of leaves Len out in the cold. So anyway, and then I went on Match.com, in case anyone's wondering. I'd say about a year and a half after Mike died. For me, I loved so much what I had with him and loved being married. I just loved having that connection. I said, well, let's see if there's anything out there, knowing full well I wasn't going to find Mike Murray. But I did meet another widower whose name, if anybody wants to guess,
Eileen.
Mike.
yes,
That's so convenient. Way to go.
so convenient. So we met, I think, in 22. And so we've been together, ever since then. He lives in Pennsylvania. We're about an hour from each other. And so it's worked really well. He was working during the week, I was working during the week. We trade off coming to see each other on weekends. It was really it is working really well. This past year in May, he was having stomach pain.
No, just
Yeah,
stop. We don't want to hear anymore.
I know. I don't want to say anymore.
Okay.
I do though.
Yeah, I know. We want to hear it.
And he was like, God, this is getting worse, It wasn't too bad. So he took himself to the ER. They did a scan. Two people come back to report the scan. That's never good. And they said, you have a mass on your pancreas.
Oh,
Okay, I won't say.
no, I want you to say it because it's how we all feel. Say it. Just go,
uh,
Eileen.
This I it's it's gross, it's crude, but it's what Mike Murray used to say. He'd be like, "Are you shitting in my face?" I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
don't be sorry. I think
That's
it's a
great.
very apt description.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It felt apt. So he, of course, was freaking out. So was I. I went out to the hospital. We went to, did all the things like, okay, who are you going to go to? Is it Johns Hopkins, Cornell Wild, Sloan Kettering, like all cancer. In the meantime, they're doing all these tests because nobody will say definitively, like it's cancer, even though it's cancer. So it ended up being stage 4 pancreatic
Mm.
cancer. So it had spread to his liver and some of his lymph nodes and an inoperable tumor, which I think is inoperable anyway once it's spread. They don't operate. So this was in May, and we're like, what dues didn't we pay?
Mm.
We paid
Right.
the widow dues, and I do. I think of the people that have been on here that have lost, you know, two spouses. I'm like, and I haven't lost him, and I know I'm not the only one that bad things happen to because, look at you guys. Um, so since that time, and it was weird, it coincided with me leaving my job, which I'd been at for 23 years. I was the director of an art program for people with disabilities, and loved it, loved it, loved it. After Mike died, my heart just wasn't in it. I love the program. I love the artists. My heart wasn't in the job. So, I received a settlement from Mike's accident. So I was fortunate in that, I could make that choice to leave. So essentially we we live together
Mm.
at this point because where he gets treatment is very close to my house in New Jersey. Um, so we stay here during the week, go out to Pennsylvania on the weekend when we can. I mean, he's still got his house. He's still got his motorcycles, his 18 motorcycles.
What?
That seems like too many.
I thought so, but he seems fine with it.
It's
It's
because his wife died and she couldn't say absolutely not.
That's exactly it.
That was his grief spending.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. He's pretty much said that. He's like, yeah, I just kind of turned my attention to the motorcycles. But I like the way you said that because his wife died. So we have to go out and see the motorcycles, and he's doing good. He's doing
Fingers
good.
crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had he's been going through chemo since I would say June, and both sets of scans that he's had show improvement, that the tumor is shrinking. It's a hard line to walk between being realistic and yet hoping
Yeah.
with all my heart that he's one of those people, that he's one of the outliers. I get scared of the future.
That's a lot. I mean,
Well, it's super uncool that you lost Mike, and then now we have awesome motorcycle Mike.
Yeah, motorcycle.
Motorcycle Mike is now he's sick, so it's like that's a raw deal. So we are sending all of our the best that we can offer, which I don't know, Anita and I don't have very much, but
What you
we're
do.
sending everything to him so that hopefully his healing goes well and that he, like you said, he is one of the outliers. But please keep us posted.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Eileen, thank you for sharing your story. I kind of was hoping that at the end of this interview, I would be like, and now Eileen is walking from the burning building. But I don't think you're quite there yet. I think you still might be in the burning building for a little while longer.
Building.
I think Eileen's mics have been in the burning building of a different sort. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, you are in these positions where you have to continue through and rise through suffering, which super sucks. But wouldn't Catholicism tell you that we're here to suffer?
So would Buddhism.
Yeah, maybe that's why you're like, I'm not going after my parents will make me like, I'm gonna have enough.
But maybe you'll be
Yeah.
sainted for all this suffering. Like,
Oh, that would be.
can you perform a few miracles or something and then
Oh,
presto change-o?
Yeah, and then they'll change the
Saint
song to
Eileen.
Come on, Saint
It
Eileen.
took me a while to even brush my teeth this morning. I don't know about miracles.
You're gonna be the patron saint of hygiene.
Okay. Ooh.
Do you think that the saints get to choose what they're the patron of? Because some of them also, like, I wouldn't want to be the patron saint of that.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Like, I requested at the hospital to get Saint Servatius, who is the patron saint of feet, a statue for my procedure room. They denied my request. But would you
Aw.
like to be the patron saint of feet?
No.
No, a lot
Oh,
of
weird.
gout in that.
A lot of gouty toes. Eileen, off the record, is there anything else that you want to tell us or something that we need to cover?
There were many things that I say, and they did, saved me
Mm-hmm.
after Mike died. And I just feel the need to mention a few of them.
Sure.
As I said, my friends were everything. And there are still friends that, well, I'm still friends with them, but I will call and cry, or I will text and say, I feel so sad and so lost, and I miss Mike. My little doggy, Oliver.
Oh.
I never had a dog before, and I'm like a crazy dog lady. I am so in love with this dog. He's completely untrained. Totally fell off
He's a disaster.
He's a disaster, yes. And you guys, the two of you,
Oh.
helped me. I can't even tell you how much. Like, I always listened in the car, and it was great because I could go back, like back in time, and just over and over and over again. So thank you, because you're so real and genuine and funny. And I need it funny.
We're sorry that you are in the club with us, and we're also grateful that if we're all going to go through this shit storm, that we have each other and that there's ways that we can all help each other. So thank you for saying that to us, because that in turn means a lot to us and helps us know that we can keep going as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Eileen, for joining us today. We hope everybody has enjoyed listening to Eileen's story and can send her a little good juju and good vibes as she continues her story, as we all are continuing our stories. But if you would like to keep the podcast going, will you check out our Patreon? It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And if you want to give us a nice rating and review, we will not say no to that on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Eileen.
And we are just two young widows and one potential patron saint of hygiene. And we are all just trying to figure out widow.
We
do
now.
Mel.
Yeah.
We have a major announcement to make.
Go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know, it's interesting. When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.